Well, we're going to talk about this little camera here, and it's referred to as a bridge camera, and I'll explain what that terminology means a little bit later in the video. So if you're interested in a P100 Coolpix camera or this type of bridge type camera, watch this video. I'm going to give you some basic information about it, and to be honest with you, I was pretty impressed with the small camera. So let's get to it. This is a Nikon P100, and it is referred to as a bridge camera. And basically what a bridge camera is you have your small, just little point and shoot cameras, and then you have your more modern DSLR cameras or mirrorless cameras. Well, this fills in that space in between the cameras. So it gives you a little bit more functionality than your standard point and shoot, but it doesn't have near the functionality that the higher end cameras have. Now, why would you want something like that? Why would you want something that falls in between? Well, there's a variety of circumstances where the camera can come in very handy. Initially, right off the bat, the size difference. If you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be carrying around a lot and you just need to, have a camera that has a decent amount of zoom to it and can take some adequately good pictures, this can come in very handy considered to the substantial weight that another camera might have. Now, of course, your phone will take more high quality pictures than this camera will. So, think about that too. You don't necessarily have to have this with you, but if you're in a situation where you don't want to even put your phone in danger, this might be a good option for you because in the secondhand market, you can pick these up relatively inexpensive. So let's talk of some of the features that this little camera has to offer. Periodically through this video, I'll put some information up in one of these two areas so that you can look at the specifications on the camera and you can look those up yourself. It is a 10 megapixel camera. It came out in 2010, so it's an older model piece of technology. And it has an articulating screen on the back. Now, the articulation there's not a lot of variation to it. You get a lot of different tilt angles, but it won't come around to the side. It won't go over the top like a Sony will do. So you do have some options when you're shooting live view. You could look down and have that screen on a specific angle that you like. The screen is not touch sensitive, so all the controls are manual. And even at that, there's not a lot of options inside of the camera. So you're not going to have to look through a ton of menus to try to get the imagery that you want. You can find it relatively quickly. It does have your standard options on the top to where you can click it into aperture priority or movie mode or, different sporting good features and taking photographs of flowers. So you do have those options. You can click into those preset programming modes. It does have a viewfinder. A lot of people complain about the quality of the viewfinder, but once again, we're talking about a camera that's about 15 years old, and it's older technology, and it was built not to be the top end camera and not to be the low end camera. So, you're going to get things like that. It does have a 26 zoom on it. So this lens will zoom out and give you a 26, not a digital, but a real zoom factor to it. And once you do that, I will say that things get relatively dark and extremely shaky. So unless you're going to be backed up on something so that you can support the camera, a tripod, it's going to be very shaky at that point. So I really wouldn't recommend it for that zoom factor, but if you need it, it's there. So, that's another great option. This little thing will shoot 10 frames per second, and that's a pretty good frames per second rate. In the bottom of the camera, you have where your battery goes and your SD card that fits into the slot. Once again, I prefer an SD card that mounts in a different location. They're a lot easier to access, but in a situation like this, it's fine. The battery does not have to be removed to charge the camera. You can charge the battery in the camera, so that's another nice feature. This is a fixed lens, so you're not going to be removing it to put on other lens options. And as I mentioned before, this is an older model piece of technology, and it was on the lower end even when it was initially offered. So there's a lot of things it doesn't have. When it comes to focusing, it does have a single autofocus point on it to do the focusing, but it's not going to have eye tracking. It's not going to have face detection. It's not going to have all those features that you find on some of the more expensive cameras. So if you're going to use this thing for a single focus point camera, it'll do you a very good job, but it doesn't have all those focus options that you might find in other pieces of technology. When it comes to your picture format, this will not shoot raw footage, so it's going to shoot your regular JPEG. And a lot of times JPEGs are the ones that people have a tendency to use anyway. But when you're going in your post-processing, if you're going to be doing a lot of work, you have to understand you're not going to be able to have the raw files. It's just going to be JPEG files. Your movie files will be MPEG, and they are AVC files. You can get up to 1920 by 1080, so it's a video file that you can use for your YouTube videos. Like I said before, it has a tendency to get a little dark when you're zooming out, but all in all, I thought it did a pretty good job even shooting the video. It does have a built-in stereo microphone, left and right channel, built into the top of the camera. So, here's an example of the zoom. You can see how substantial. So it's giving you a real zoom, not a digital zoom, and it even has a built-in flash. So once again, I think all in all, we've got a decent little piece of equipment here you can pick up inexpensively, and I would see a lot of opportunities to use this thing. Once again, thanks for watching this video. I appreciate you stopping by. Please go ahead and subscribe. I appreciate every subscription I get. And I go through a lot of equipment because I buy and sell equipment. So if you have a question about something in particular, maybe I can help you with it. If not, leave something in the comments about this video. And once again, I hope you have a great day.